All right, everybody. I've been having lots of questions about the rear tire mount and wanting to see how it goes together, what the parts are, how I made it. So I'm going to take today and I'm going to go ahead and take the panel off, show everybody, show the mock-up piece, how it all went together. And then if you guys have any questions, hit me up. So here we go. So everybody knows Sabre. And you can see the tires up there. Everything's mounted and the door supports the weight. Now that's with the extra shocks. So when you look in here, if you haven't seen the other videos, you have this shock, which is a 400-pound shock, and this shock, which is a 300-pound shock. This is the factory spot. I just replaced it with a heavier shock, which you can do easily. And then here, I had to create this mount. Now the way I did this was I actually cut up a floor jack that was already welded that didn't work. And these are the wheel bearing where the wheels would be mounted because it was the only thing I could find solid enough that didn't bend under the weight of the door. I tried several different types of metal and L brackets and everything, and they just bent. These are super strong. So I cut that up to make those. This part down here is made from another part of that same jack where the housing and the bushing is. But you have to have a spindle bushing. So you can see there that goes through and then this spins. And that way it lets it rotate as it goes down and goes in. And then up here, because the tire is in place, I had to move this camera, is for my backup camera, which is wired to the front. And it's actually, I'll show you that here in a second. And the camera that I had taken out of in here is mounted right up there. And I can show you, I'll show you how to do that. I even have a video out showing how to do that. But here we go. We're going to turn around. Everybody can take a look. So I had somebody ask why I didn't put the tire in the middle. And here's why. To get this bracket in, you have to cut. You'd have to cut this entire piece out, which is a big part of stabilizing the door. And you have this mounted hardware that goes in the middle. So by setting it off to the side, I was able to do it in 3 pieces. So this piece slid in and bolted into the main chunk, which goes to the wall. And you can see that here, right? And then the other piece ran across into here. And there's a couple holes for getting in to get the bolts tightened down and everything else that were cut out. And it's all been powder coated, painted and everything. And then the block got put in here to seal up the hole where the old camera was. And all these cords, you just strip back this cord out of the housing, this one right here, and rerun it. And that allows you to move your camera up. So you rerun it, it goes inside here, come up here, and it tucks through the grommeted mount right here. There's a grommeted mount and feeds into that housing up there. So it's all watertight. And you don't have to even unhook it. So the camera stays working the whole time. So you've got all that, and then the panel pops on. I had to adjust this latch, which is something that took me a couple months to figure out, but to get the latch to meet, because the door is carrying so much weight, it had to come down about 1/8 of an inch. And the easiest way was actually take it out and mount it outside the steel. And then you have to cut, I had to cut these nubs off. Everything fits. It closes perfect. You don't have to mess with anything. You do have to bend some metal right in here. You can see I haven't painted it yet because I was still getting it dialed in. But now that it's dialed in, I'm going to sand this and have it painted. And that way it doesn't rust. But this here had to be bent to allow clearance here, because it does lift you up just a little bit on the door. Now, I've shot this thing with a garden hose, washed it tons of times. No water gets in. The seal here sits so high that even though this is off the frame about that much, which anybody's ever seen me at a show or a ride or whatever knows it sits a little high, it doesn't leak. No water gets in, everything's fine. So I just got done moving and putting in this light here. And this is just a motorcycle light, and it gives me the light on my license plate, so I'm in compliance. And I ran it through into the fender, up in, and it's ready to be tied in here. I just haven't tied it in yet. So it's going to tie into the taillights, so it'll be wired hot that way. But that's it. And then the mount is all one piece, just like a regular one you'd see on another car. And it's bolted in, and that's it. That's all there is to this tire mount. So I'm going to put this out because everybody's been asking tons of questions about it. Well, how did I do it? Why did I put it off to the side? So I hope that answers your questions. If you have any others, hit me up. I'll see if I can answer them. And if you want to do it yourself, let me know. I'm going to show you. I kept everything. So here, let me get these down and I'll show them to you. Are the actual mock-ups that I made out of wood before I fabricated it out of steel. So, there's the mock-ups. And everything's labeled, passenger side, driver side, inside. So this is the part that faces the inside of the car. The back side is flat. And this block is exactly the shape it has to be because there's an angle to the metal of the back door. And then everything bolts together. Then the bolts go through here and they go to this piece, which is the mock-up for the outside. And I already got the angle figured out on it so that this is the perfect angle and the perfect length for your tire, so it sits and clears the windshield wiper but sits tight to the door, doesn't wiggle, doesn't move. These are what I gave to the metal fabricator to replicate dimensions, okay? And I have these in my garage. So if somebody wants more information, I can measure these for you. Take pictures, put a tape measure beside it, whatever, to get you some measurements. Or if you're somebody local, come by. You can measure them up yourself. Ask me, I'll bring them to the next show I go to or to the next trail ride. You can take pictures, measure them, even borrow them as long as I get them back. But this is all there is to making this thing, guys. It's pretty simple. And as you can see, there is angle to the door, right? So it's not, this piece is not square. To get it to fit, it is not square. Look at the end. See the angle? That's because the door is angled. So this piece has to be this shape for it to work. It's thicker on one side than it is on the other. And that is to make it fit in because you have all these curves in the door that you have to match up to. Right? So that's it. Let me know if you have any questions. And I'll talk to you later.